The man, screaming after the girl who is running away, tells her, but it is useless where she will hide. The angry man screams that this girl is making him run after her, and one day he will catch her and make her suffer the same way he is now. A crowd of guys run after the girl and scream that they see her and ask her to stand still, and they won't kill her if she listens to them carefully. The stranger stopped, and the man screamed with pleasure that she was caught, and if he did not kill her, she would make him beg for death. But suddenly the men, in pursuit of catching the girl, suddenly fall into a deep hole. The running girl looks at all this while sitting on a tree branch. The young lady thought that there were only 3 guys, and because they had her things. The girl, taking the rope and hooking it onto a tree, quickly descended into the hole. Having tied the men together, the girl decided to search them, but found nothing. Except for the teddy bear. Taking the plush toy, the girl says that this is his second chance. The young lady, as she leaves, turns around to look at the guys and reflects that, in any case, they are thieves who robbed her house. However, she should send them to prison even though they do not look like they can pay the prison costs. People who cannot pay for themselves in prison are guaranteed to do hard labor for the rest of their lives. And for the feudal lord, it's the same as getting free slaves. The huntress thinks that these guys will pay for their dirty deeds, but for her dragging them to the village is too tiring, and she'll have to work a little harder. Sitting on the chair, the young lady thinks with great pleasure that she has gained as much as if she had hunted a large deer. Having hidden her reward in the chest, the girl says that, in any case, too many thieves have appeared in the forest lately. The huntress knows that all these brats were able to find the entrance to her hut, and when they saw the girl alone at home, they smiled as they came closer. However, the girl warned them not to come closer, but without listening to the hunter, they were all caught and turned into real money for her. The young lady was sure that they would follow her. After all, in this forest, sudden destruction of roads and swamps hidden under climbing plants are quite common, and this place is famous for its quirks. Few can roam this forest freely like the huntress called R, because she has the knowledge that she inherited from her grandfather, who lived here all his life. AR understands that catching scammers can be a very profitable activity, and at the same time she is worried because there have been few animals lately. The young lady thinks that she has already saved a lot, and she should buy new arrowheads with this money, because she is a hunter who has lived in the forest all her life. However, today passed, like all the previous ones, and the girl went to bed without realizing that her peaceful life had completely begun to change. While falling asleep, R thinks that tomorrow she needs to check the trap in which she would like to see a rabbit. In the morning, the girl woke up, and when she opened the window, she heard a loud sound and thought that it was another earthquake and, in any case, hoped that it would end soon. Suddenly, knights burst into her door and say that this hunter's hut looks like an ordinary one because it is too small. One of the knights orders to search everything in the house because they are not sure if they are really hiding here. R, who hid, thinks that these knights don't look like those idiots who came to plunder her house, and they don't look like thieves since they came here on horseback. However, thieves break in whenever they want and run away, ransacking her house. The girl, unable to bear how they destroy her house, goes out and calls the knight, who quickly noticed her. This man is in an iron mask. Ask the girl if she saw a man in the forest with blonde hair and blue eyes. Hearing this, R is furious and thinks that she can do to them the same thing she did to those thieves. The knight, stopping his colleagues, says it would be faster to just ask the residents of this house, and turning to the girls, he says that there is someone who is hiding here. The girl thinks that there is no longer any need to endure this, and without wasting time, she quickly ran away through the back door. The military man, turning to his colleagues, screams so that they quickly catch her and detain her. In the forest, R deftly ran away from the knights because it was not difficult for her to hide from them. Returning to her house, the huntress saw a guy with blonde hair and blue eyes whom the military was looking for. The girl thought about him, how dark and bright he was and so unusual. The guy, turning to the huntress, says that he thought that the horse was without a rider, and he asks for forgiveness for entering the house without an invitation. The girl thought of him that at least he knows how to apologize, and this seems like something new to her. And maybe she should listen to what he has to say. How many people who broke into her house and turned everything upside down? The guy with blonde hair says that he saw her lure the knights, and that means she knows the forest well. After all, he was waiting for her because he wanted to ask for one favor. Suddenly the girl felt her stomach growling, and she thought that she really hadn't eaten much today. Out of politeness, the huntress asked the guy with blue eyes if he wanted to have dinner. While preparing dinner, Rs think that there should be enough ingredients for two because they cannot overdo it, but they just need to fill their belly with something. The girl remembers that a lot of time has passed since someone else sat at this table, and the chair the guy is sitting on has not been used for a long time. The huntress reflects that it is strange to put only one chair at the table, and therefore she left it in the same place. She had a strange feeling because a man was sitting on the chair that was always fasting. The girl never ate in the city because people don't want to eat next to the person who cut up the carcasses of the animals they eat. They do not want to accept food from her, and surrounded by gloomy looks, she always ate alone. The guy, looking at the prepared food, says that this is the first time he is hosting such a treat and asks if this is porridge cooked with goat's milk. The huntress thinks that the guy eats quite well and invites him to try the buns. The girl continues to look at him and thinks about how quiet and attentive he is. Having finished dinner, the fair-haired guy thought that this was the end of the meal, and he was trying such simple food for the first time. The young man thanked the girl and said that he was full and he really liked it because it was delicious. The guy says that his name is Lionel's and he still doesn't know her name. The girl said her name, and the guy, shocked by what he heard, thought that maybe she was trying to show him that she didn't have money to cook better food. Lionel's takes out a bag of jewelry and offers the girl that he will pay her, because the huntress did not budge, and this surprised him. The guy doesn't know how to explain to her that this is a small payment compared to what she was subjected to because of Nevo, and the jewelry he offers her is enough to buy a house for a commoner. Lionel's, turning to the girl, says that if this money is not enough, then he will give her as much as she wants as soon as he returns to his family. The girl's silence confuses the guy because he is not sure that this is a normal reaction since he ate her food. R is simply being curious about the first person to come to her house. The huntress refuses jewelry because she doesn't need it. However, Lionel's claims that this is sufficient payment for the fact that he stayed here. R asks the guy if he knows how she prepared it, and if he knows how to work with his hands. The young man replies that he knows how to cook, and the girl invites him to do it. The huntress showed the guy a barn with chickens, goats, and other animals there, and for her they are like pets. The young man asks the girl why she grows them. R replies that he will get milk from goats and eggs from chickens, and he should know about this. The girl offers to pet the goat because it doesn't bite. The guy says that it seems to him that the goat is angry, but the girl assures him that she only looks like that and that everything is fine because she is ready for this. Lionel strokes the goat and says that he thinks that she very suddenly became calm, and he liked this thing because he was doing this for the first time. R looks at the guy and says that the animals love him, and that's good. Entering the house, the girl asks where the guy will sleep. She gave him her change of clothes, since all his things were left with these people. The young man, lying in bed, thinks that she does not trust him, so she decided to lay him closer to her. At the same time, the girl thinks about how strange it is to hear his breathing. Getting up in the morning, R thought that she needed to prepare a delicious breakfast. Because the guy is sleeping, it was the first day in the forest and he must be tired. And the huntress has a lot to do, because she still has to see if someone fell into a trap last night. Arriving at the trap, the girl saw that there was a snake there and was sure that she could cook a lot out of it, because she's so lucky. When R returned, she was greeted with pleasure by the young man. When she saw him, her heart began to pound loudly. The guy says he tried to cook food for them, but looking at the table, she realized that all the food was spoiled. The guy explains because he didn't know where all the kitchen utensils and ingredients were, and he asked for forgiveness. The girl thought how he could make all this mess in 30 minutes, because it would shock her even more. The huntress asks if he knows how to cook pancakes, and since this is his first time, she will help him. The girl and the guy went to the chicken coop, and she says that the eggs can be used for cooking, and the goat's milk for dough. But it is too late to milk the goat now, and so they can just use water. Arriving at the house, R orders to prepare breakfast. The guy doesn't know where to start, and therefore asks the girl how to do it, because he had never made dough before. The girl, looking at the guy, thinks that she begins to doubt that he knows how to cook anything, but still, I think it's better for her to see how things go. Having made the dough, the girl offers to cook it in a frying pan. The guy asks what a frying pan is, and the girl is surprised and claims that he has never used a frying pan before, and the young man confirms this. After all, he is not sure that all the dough will fit in the frying pan. When the girl heard this, she no longer doubted that the guy didn't know how to cook at all, and she will have to teach him everything. R talks about how he should add a little oil to the pan and pour some of the dough onto it. The girl asks herself whether she can leave him here alone. The blue-eyed guy has prepared the pancake and screams that it's ready. After looking at these pancakes, the girl says that her pancakes look different. I tried the pancake and she said with delight that it was fluffy and cooked even inside and so incredibly tender. The girl, looking at the guy, asks about what happened and in response hears that the guy is glad that she finished eating. But he thinks he forgot something because he didn't sweeten the dough, so the taste is a little different. The hunter asks why the dough should be sweet. Lionel's reluctantly eats, and the girl invites him to take honey from the cupboard. The guy says honey will do too, but sugar is better. The girl asks what sugar is and thought she had never heard of it. Says that she doesn't have sugar, but she's going to go to the village so she can get him some. The huntress thought that since she was lucky and caught a couple of squirrels, that's why she needed to go to the village. Arriving in the city, the girl sold the snake that she pulled out of the trap, but having gained some money, she decided that she would not sell the squirrels, but simply cook dinner from them, and it would be a special delicacy for her guest. Returning home, the girl noticed humiliating glances in her direction from people who passed by her. Since the only hunter in the village earns more money than the whole village because meat is much more profitable to sell than vegetables or grain, and the most profitable thing is to execute people. Hearing talk that today there would be executions in the square, people gathered to watch this action, and you could hear their conversations and surprise about how a girl could cope with such a large axe. Others said, since she is a hunter and a real expert, and therefore she can do it. People tried to stay away from her because, after all, she was a hunter. Suddenly, the girl remembers that when she was still a child, she saw other children fighting over a doll. Then the girl decided to buy some dolls and give them to the children. But suddenly, these children refused to take the dolls and did not agree to play with her because she finishes off the animals. The kids screamed, "Let her get lost and leave," because explaining that she was dirty. Over time, people began to like eating meat, but they avoided the process, just like people like to watch executions. But they reject kata. R was the richest person in the village, and she had a stove for her house and even a goat. And this guy, who entered her house for the first many years, became a person with whom she could comfortably talk and spend time. Suddenly, the girl remembered that she was missing something and she had to buy sugar. Entering the store, the hunter asks if there is sugar, and in response, she hears that the seller says that it is very expensive because it is made from sugar beets, and therefore it is an incredibly rare process. Because the process of growing it is incredibly difficult, and few people know how to do it correctly, so you need to be an expert to grow it. Also, production productivity is low because sugar is so expensive and is considered a luxury item. The seller explains that few people buy it, demand is low, and maintaining stocks is expensive, which is why sugar was expensive before and is expensive now. And how can you not know this? So if you eat a lot of it, you can get sick and die. The huntress replies that she understood everything and let him forget what she asked about, and just let him give it to her. The seller says that sometimes the cooks from the feudal lord's estate came and bought it, but he hasn't passed by for a long time, so he's not entirely sure where he put it, but that's it. And he opened a jar in which something had spoiled, saying that it was sugar. The girl says that she doesn't know what sugar looks like, but she's quite sure that it's not him. The man searched a little more and finally says that he found sugar, and she can take a closer look at it. The girl looks inside and thinks that it looks like flour, but at the same time it shines and reminds her of the hair of the guy she has. A man, telling a girl about sugar, asks if she listens to him, and in response the girl says that yes, of course, because she likes to listen to the birds sing in the morning. Seeing the price, the girl was concerned and said that it was expensive, and the seller screamed that he had been explaining to her all this time why sugar was so expensive. The huntress says that if she buys sugar, she will spend half the money received from the sale of the snake. The man continues to explain that this sugar is cheaper than what they make in sugarcane, because there are completely different price tags there. The girl says that she is buying sugar, and since she knows that he is delighted, she should keep her thoughts to herself. The seller thinks with great pleasure that he needs to sell quickly before she changes her mind. The huntress thought she agreed that sugar was expensive, but the breakfast he prepared today was very tasty. However, it's worth it. Leaving the city, R saw that it was already getting dark, and thought that if she hurried, she would get home before sunset. Rushing home, the huntress thinks about why she is in such a hurry because there is no reason for this, but still she really wants to return home quickly, and that's why she ran very quickly. When R arrived, she was met by a guy who said welcome home. Entering the house, she felt that it smelled good and asked where this smell, which was similar to soup, came from. Lionels explains because he was unsure when she would return, and so he made something that could be kept warm until she arrived. Hearing this, the girl thought that she was already pleasant and warm. R offers the blue-eyed guy a bag of sugar, and he thanks her. The girl looking at the guy thinks that he knows how to apologize and be grateful. The huntress says that she is hungry, and the guy says that dinner will be ready soon because he did something simple and hope that she will like it. Looking at the guy as he deftly picks up food, the girl says that the kitchen is much cleaner than in the morning. And don't let him worry. It was a compliment. There was soup and tomatoes for dinner, and the guy says he also wanted to cut some bread, but couldn't find any. The blonde guy asks if the girl has some other place where she stores food. The huntress replies that there is another place outside, but about the bread, she makes it fresh when she needs it. Hearing this, the guy asks in surprise that she knows how to make bread. Hearing this question, the girl thought that he knew how to cook. The huntress replies that sometimes she makes bread, but now is the season for bread, so it can be picked from the breadfruit tree, and asks if he wants to see the breadfruit tree. The surprised guy replies that he knew nothing about it, and the girl, unable to contain her laughter, says that she was joking. Supporting her, her boyfriend also laughed and said that he knew that she was joking, but the girl thought that he really believed her. Laughing, the huntress says that now she will show him how to cook bread and let him get the flour. However, she thought that he should work for her, but she has the feeling that she is working. A girl, sitting on a chair, looks with pleasure at the guy who is making the dough and thinks about how hard he is trying because he is very focused. Lionels was very disappointed at that time, thinking about the breadfruit tree because he wanted to see it so much. R, looking at the bowl of tomatoes, thinks that he might try this first. As she started to eat, the girl thought about how delicious it was because the tomatoes were cut into perfect pieces and complemented with goat cheese, herbs, and vinegar, and a little salt because it was a strange combination, but so tasty. After all, the hunter usually eats whole tomatoes and spreads cheese on bread, and she didn't know that these two go so well together. The juice of the tomato and the flavor of the cheese complement each other, and the acidity of the sauce accentuates the sweetness. After all, she was thirsty before the trouble, but now after eating she seemed refreshed. Having eaten, the girl screams and asks what she ate. The guy replies that this is an appetizer salad, because he, given the ingredients that were available, was able to cook it. A guy with blonde hair asks the girl if she liked the food, the girl blushing and replies that she didn't. Lionels, looking at the girl, says that he is glad that she liked the salad, and he has just put the bread in the oven, but the main course will soon be served. The guy thinks that, considering that he didn't have much to work with, he's glad that the salad turned out delicious. A couple of hours ago, he had finally finished cleaning the kitchen, and he was wondering what he should prepare for R's return. Since the soup is not a problem, the guy will start the appetizer salad and think about it. After all, remembering that he told the girl that he could cook and thinks that he exaggerated a little because he doesn't know many recipes. The guy picked up the tomato and thought that he needed to make a tomato salad because he knew what this salad looked like. Lionels took a knife and wanted to cut the tomatoes, but suddenly, waving the knife, he forgot it on the floor. And as a result, the tomato was crushed because it was his first time using a kitchen knife. The guy, remembering the first time he prepared a salad, thought that it was not at all easy, and he was glad that everything worked out for him. The young man looked at the girl with pleasure, thinking that she had a good appetite, and maybe he exaggerated when he said that he knew how to cook. The guy thinks that everything will be okay because the girls like his food. Lionels asks the girl if she has a book with recipes, and if she does, he would like to look at it. R, with a mouthful of food, says that she was just about to buy it, but the guy didn't understand anything. He thought that she said yes. Huntress thinks that the next thing on her shopping list is a recipe book, and since it is very expensive for such quality food, it will be worth it. The young man takes the bread out of the oven, and the girl, looking at him, says that he is perfect. Having tasted a piece of bread with pleasure, R thinks how delicious it is because it melts in her mouth. The girl thanks him for the bread because it is very tasty, and the guy says with great pleasure that he is glad to hear this. Sitting on a chair, the girl became interested in what the guy was looking at, and after a while he screamed out what it was. The girl tells him that these are lizards, and they actually taste better if you fry them. Leonels, when he was little, read that his mother ate fried lizards and he just can't imagine that someone could eat a lizard. Looking at the girl, the guy says that he doesn't know how to cook it, and the girl tells him that he has lost a lot. Suddenly, the guy thought that it was good that this was a lizard and not some big beetle. R thought at the time that this vision was impressive. R thinks that today she checked the trap, sold the snake, and skinned the squirrel. She wants to have a snack because a glass of goat milk is just right. Arriving in the kitchen, the guy asks her what she is looking for. The girl replies that goat's milk. When the guy hears this, he is worried and says that he is no longer there. The young lady invites the guy to go with her to the goat pen. When the goat saw the guy, she was very angry, and the girl explains that she forgot his face, but will soon remember. The guy stroked the goat, and she became very affectionate. A girl asks a guy if he knows how to milk a goat. When he realized that he didn't know how, the girl suggested that he put the jug near the swollen udder and milk her. The girl, approaching the guy, shows how he should milk a goat, and he thinks that he cannot focus because everything here is completely unusual. But what is most unusual is the warmth of her hands. Having filled the jug with milk, the young lady says that it is ready, and she made the cheese he used in the salad from this milk. While stroking the goat, Leonels thinks that he has seen racing dogs and racehorses up close, but he has never heard a goat so close, and it is incredible because it is so soft. The guy asks what the goat's name is, and the girl replies that she doesn't have a name because she's a goat, and that's why she doesn't give names to animals. At that time, the girl remembers that the hound dog was attacked by a boar or something similar. As a result of this collision, the dog died and she felt sorry because they spent many years together. R, remembering the words of her grandfather, who advised her not to give names to animals because they will be eaten sooner or later. And grandfather was right about this. The huntress is thinking about whether to give the animals names because it will be difficult to say goodbye to them. The guy says he can give the goat a name. The girl answers if she wants, then let him call him, but she herself thinks that she will not bother him since she will not use this name. The young man says that he needs to think carefully about what he will call this animal, and since she is fluffy, then he suggests calling her a fluffy ball. But the goat suddenly waves its head and gives a sign that it doesn't like it. The blue-eyed guy says that we need to come up with several options and can somehow simplify this name. The girl supports him and says, for example, fluffy or ball. Leonels screams Bianca because she is so white and he decided to call her that. The girl agrees with the guy because she doesn't care. R, looking at the guy, thinks that in comparison with this dirty goat, he looks whiter. The guy offers the girl warm milk and tells her to be careful because it is hot. After drinking the milk, the girl felt a sweet taste and asked the guy what he added to it. And if it were honey, she would have felt it. Leonels replies that he used the sugar she bought earlier and asks if it tastes good. The village tried sugar for the first time and says that she likes it. It seems strange to the huntress because she drank goat's milk every day, but adding sugar makes it much tastier. Arriving at the house, the young lady thought that the next time she went into town, she would buy him a book with recipes, since several days had already passed since he came to the huntress's house. And that's why she talked more in these couple of days than in recent years. The girl thinks about herself that she is just like her grandfather, and she is not very talkative. Remembering the conversation with her grandfather, her answer was always short, because such conversations between grandfather and granddaughter were always brief. But after he fell into eternal sleep, they disappeared, and she had absolutely no one to talk to. The girl reflects that since the young man came to her house, she has been constantly talking. And they talk about the forest, hunting, kitchen utensils, the town. After all, before that, she couldn't even think that she was so talkative. When a guy asks her something, the girl responds with long answers, because he is a curious person, so he asks a lot of questions, but she likes to answer them. And now she's even waiting for him to ask the next question, because it interests her. Coming to her grandfather's grave, she says that she never knew that talking could be interesting. A week has passed since Leon came to the house. He cooked, made his bed, and cleaned the house, because he had never done such things before. But it seems like everything works out quite well for him, and sometimes it happens. But in any case, the guy grasps everything on the fly because he has a natural talent in these matters. The blue-eyed guy has learned so many new things lately, but he understands that everything will be useless when he returns. The guy, thinking about the girl, continues to ask these questions because he loves to listen to her talk, because he likes open and honest conversations. After all, it's charming. Leonels did not plan to stay in the Huntress's house for very long because he needed to return and prepare. The next day, leaving the house, the girl asks the guy if he would like to go with her, and he agrees to inspect the territory. Let's go with the guy through the forest. R thinks about what he should show first. Since the girl knows the forest inside and out, and there is just everything she wants to show him, she is very excited and alarmed, and still decides that she should not show her the hunting areas and traps, because it's her secret. Having calmed down a little, the Huntress thinks of showing him places to avoid. Because if you go further, there is a wolf den there. There are a lot of wolf puppies, so you need to stay away from this place. The guy replies that he understands because it's better not to go there. The girl points her finger to the right side and says that a lot of bears live there because they are as big as that tree trunk, so you need to be careful. The guy listens carefully to the girl and replies that this place is also dangerous, and he understands this. The Huntress points her finger to the right side and says that there are often many snakes hiding there. Some of them are poisonous, and let him look at his feet. Leonel responds in surprise that he should also avoid this place. The young girl took a thick branch, ran it along the ground, made a small circle, and said that this was a safe territory for him. The blue-eyed guy looks at this territory in surprise and claims that he cannot go anywhere. R explains that he has no idea how dangerous it is here. Leonel asks in surprise if she doesn't come here every day. The girl replies that it is not so dangerous for her since she was born and raised in the forest and so she can take care of herself. But he doesn't. The Huntress imagines that if Leon gets lost in the forest and a predator appears out of nowhere, then he will panic and become very scared. The guy listening to all this thinks about who she thinks he is. AR tells the guy to bend down for a second and puts a flower in his mouth, asking him to suck it. The girl asks if it's sweet for him, and since there are still a few flowers left. Looking at the guy with a flower in his mouth, the Huntress says how handsome he is. Hearing this, the guy thinks that he is not sure whether he should laugh or be upset. The Huntress picked all the flowers and gave them to him in the palm of his hand and said that this was in case he still wanted more. The guy found it strange because the flower has no taste on the outside, but on the inside it is so sweet. Walking after the girl, the guy thinks about her brown hair and her light yellow eyes. When he closes his eyes and seems to still see her, the Huntress tells the guy that that's all and offers to go home. At this time, the young man thinks that he has seen a little, but still agrees with the girl. Looking at Leonels, she thinks that his blonde hair surprised her at first, but now she realized that it reminded her of autumn leaves. Being not far from the house, the girl says that she hears sounds coming from her house. It seems to her that they have uninvited guests. Ran very quickly, and the guy, screaming, told her not to go alone because it was dangerous. Entering the house, the Huntress saw thieves who, screaming, told her not to come near because they were dangerous people. The girl, without listening to them, quickly used her tools to put the thieves on the floor. Lying on the floor, the thief thinks that these are tranquilizers, and he cannot believe that he fell so quickly. But it's not over yet because tranquilizers don't work very well for him, and after a couple of minutes he will be able to get up again. Since she doesn't do anything else, there won't be any problems. Coming closer to the thief, the Huntress saw next to him a bag of jewelry that belonged to Leonels and became very angry. With the help of several precise blows, the girl plunged the thief into eternal sleep. Asked the guy to help her tie up these bandits. The surprised guy asks if such an attack happens often. The Huntress replies that until recently this was not the case, and usually people like them were never announced. The girl says that strangers never enter the forest, but recently they are constantly appearing from somewhere. Suddenly, Leonel screams, warning the girl that there is another thief behind her, and she deftly dodges, and at that time the guy uses a thick branch to stab the bandit. The surprised girl says that the guy could have been hurt, and he replies that he knows how to handle a sword. Offers to do the cleaning and says with delight that these tranquilizers are quite strong, since the thieves are passed out. Leonels loaded the bandits onto the cart and thought that one of them would not wake up because his neck could not support his head. Turns to the donkey and asks for forgiveness since she knows that he will have to carry a heavy load. But suddenly the girl looked back and saw the guy, and she was interested in what he was thinking about. The Huntress thought for a moment that today she was not herself, since she usually lured bandits into a trap, but today she was busy showing off. The girl remembered that since the residents of the town see violence, they always say bad things about her, and suddenly she thought that he would think the same about her. Lanels tells the girl with delight how incredible it was, and she was so fast he is sure that R could be a worthy opponent for the swordmaster. The girl asked a question, who is the swordmaster? The guy replies that this is one of his partners, famous for his skill with a sword since he's considered the best among his peers, but she is almost as fast as he is. Hearing this, the Huntress says that she is even faster. The guy compliments the girl because it's easy to knock out several men at once, and she tied them up so impressively. The Huntress replies that this is nothing, and at that time the donkey is thinking about when they will leave. Lionel says these bandits may be from Northwood Pass, because this area used to be dotted with farmers, the kingdom of Pontus. After all, these territories were the main source of food for the entire kingdom. However, as retribution for interference in the internal affairs of the neighboring kingdom of Nizon, most of these territories were given to the kingdom of Nizon. The territories were named Northwood Pass, and the laws of the kingdom of Nizon operate there. The guy claims that the kingdom of Pontus is mostly ruled by lords, and the king doesn't have much power. The lord is responsible for maintaining order in his lands, and therefore he uses his own money to hire soldiers and knights. However, no one is responsible for the road between these lands. The lord says that no one lives on these roads, so there is no tax on them. However, they need to focus on the lands for which they are responsible. But these roads are inhabited by beggars and vagabonds. The soldiers think that if this territory becomes dangerous, then fewer people will want to leave the country. And as a result, it's not bad. On the contrary, the way the Pontes kingdom ruled these lands, the first thing the Nason kingdom did after they received the farmlands was to clear the paths and destroy all the bandits. Lionel says that those bandits who managed to survive fled to Northwood Pass and took refuge in those lawless lands. And since those bandits that came from the forest are one of them. The Huntress is surprised because she said a few words about bandits, and he responded with a whole lecture. The girl asks the guy if he says that bandits continue to appear, and he answers that most likely. The lady with brown hair says that's great because it will be more money for her. Leaving, the Huntress tells the guy that she will return after she sells these guys, and that he should not worry because she will return for dinner. The young man, having said goodbye to the girl, told her to take care of herself, and he himself thought that he needed to return to the house and start cleaning up the mess. The day of chaos had finally come to an end. R returned before sunset as promised, because dinner was waiting for her, which was warm and tasty as always. The girl woke up. She went up to the guy and, having tasted his forehead, she realized that he was all on fire. R began to wake him up so that he would wake up, but the guy couldn't wake up, and the girl realized that she had to do something. The Huntress remembered that there was a pharmacist in the city, and she could put him on a mule and take him to the town. But when she opened the door, the girl saw that it was raining heavily outside and wondered if the guy would get wet. Otherwise, he might get even worse. The Huntress quickly saddled her horse and rode into the city. But since the mule was exhausted, he got tired before he had gone halfway and refused to go further. The girl continued her journey alone. Thinking about Leon, she quickly reached the city. Arriving at the pharmacist, the hunter began to knock heavily on the door. From behind the doors, the girl heard someone start screaming loudly, asking who was knocking on the door at such a late hour and let him get lost. The man opened the door and says that they are closed and let her go home. R, without listening to him, says that someone is sick and needs his help. The girl explains that the man has difficulty breathing and does not come to his senses. We offer a bag of money. The hunter says that he will pay that much, he will say. Looking at the bag of money, the pharmacist realized that there was too much money to refuse, and he told the girl that he would look at the weak one tomorrow because it was too late now. The Huntress claims that he is very sick and they need to go now. The man, screaming, replies that she should actually be grateful that he agreed to go into the forest. After all, she must understand this herself and call her a stupid girl. Hearing his words, R looked at the doctor and angrily demands that they leave now. After looking at the girl, the man understood everything and agreed to go with her. After a short journey, the girl and the pharmacist arrived at her house. Seeing the nobleman's boyfriend, the man asked what such a man was doing in this house. But without hearing an answer, the pharmacist says that he will immediately get to work. He took some tests, and the man said that the guy was poisoned, and it was true. Then the pharmacist asks if he has eaten the melium flower. The Huntress replies that he ate several flowers this morning. The pharmacist claims that the nectar may be safe, but there is poison in the petals. and people from their regions are immune to it, but it affects strangers immediately. The surprised girl hearing about this was very worried because she knew nothing. The pharmacist claims that all this is not very serious, and he only faces high fever and abdominal discomfort. However, if he gets a good rest, he will feel better in a couple of days. A concerned girl asks the pharmacist if he has an antidote. The man replies that there is no antidote, but she can give him medicinal herbs. They're usually 5 coins, but he'll sell hay for 3 coins. R agrees to buy everything he has from the pharmacist. Hearing this, the man thinks that it is always pleasant to deal with rich people, and it is not for nothing that he came to such a wilderness. The girl stood in the guy's bed and saw that his fever had already subsided, and his breathing, however, had returned to normal. But he still hasn't woken up yet. The huntress thinks that she shouldn't have given him these flowers and asks for forgiveness for such a rash act. After a while, the fair-haired guy opened his eyes and asked the girl what she was doing here. At that time, the huntress, screaming, asks if he is okay and if he has a fever and headache. The guy replies that he is a little dizzy. Hearing this, the girl apologizes and says that the flower she gave him this morning is poisonous. The young man calms her down and says that everything is fine and that she should not worry. The girl, crying, says because she didn't know that there was poison in it, and because of this the guy got sick. Lionel's, wiping tears from her eyes, says that the nectar was very tasty and she just wanted to share it with him. After all, it is his fault that he is not strong enough to bear it. The guy claims that the girl is not to blame for what happened. Taking the guy's palm, the eyes of the huntress, who had found her love, shone as never before. The girl compliments the guy and says that he is very cute. Lionel's thinks that R has been acting strange lately because he praises him very often. The young man thinks that maybe he should sit down and do nothing. But this didn't work either, because even when he doesn't do anything, she showers him with compliments. Lionel's reflects that it is strange to call a guy cute, but handsome would be a little better. The guy wanted to ask the girl why she always calls him cute, but then he changed his mind about asking because she might misunderstand it. Well, after all, he's glad that she just showers him with compliments. But suddenly the girl asks if she can kiss him. Hearing this, the guy choked on his milk and thought, after all, this is what he was afraid of. However, the huntress once again asked if it was possible and, without hearing an answer, kissed him on the cheek. The guy thinks that he should have refused, but he cannot do it. Where Lionel's came from, everything was sophisticated. Refined glances, refined touches, after all. This is how the nobles behaved. The young man thinks about the girl because she is not at all like that, and the way she openly expresses her feelings and looks at him, yet he cannot resist. The guy thought that he shouldn't kiss the girl, but the real problem was that even though his head said no, his heart couldn't push her away. The girl happily says that it's a great job and he's so cute. However, she compliments him even more. The blonde guy thinks that compliments are a good thing, of course, but they make him feel like a child. R, remembering her childhood, how she finished doing something, her grandfather always told her that it was an excellent job, and she's a good girl. And once again, when the girl said that the guy was very nice and he asked her if she needed to go hunting, the guy says that he is worried because she constantly helps him and does not go hunting at all, and meanwhile he thinks that she is pursuing him. Suddenly, the girl tells him not to worry because she has everything ready. After all, everyone usually hunts using traps. After all, this gives the hunter a lot of free time. R thinks that she used this time to earn extra money, because she did it because she had nothing better to do. But now, she has better things to do. Lionel's is thinking about trying to use the hardened bread as bowls. How many times has he seen something like this at a banquet? The guy made lunch, and the girl, looking at this dish, said that this line was interesting. Suddenly, the young man screams that there is no need to eat this bread, but after taking a bite, the girl says that it is delicious. The guy tried a little and agrees with the girl that it's delicious. Because the sauce soaks into the bread, it makes it soft when it goes well with the bread. After lunch, the girl thinks that she needs to go check the traps. She really doesn't want to go there because she prefers to be with him. Going outside, R says that the weather is great today, and she thought that if she wants to be with him, she can just take him with her. Walking through the forest together, the girl is constantly worried that the guy has not tripped or fallen. After passing, a slightly young couple noticed a stump with mushrooms. The girl says that these are mushrooms that glow blue at night. Walking through the forest, the hunter shows plants called mimosa and invites the guy to touch her. Lionel's, seeing the animal, asks the girl if it is a crocodile. The huntress replies that it is not a crocodile but a monitor lizard. A guy walking in the forest thinks that it is fascinating, and the more he studies, the more he sees. The young man sees the girl nearby and asks if she is okay. The girl tells him that she found mushrooms that can be eaten. The guy was very surprised when he saw the mushrooms because these are black forest mushrooms known for their strong taste. They are used to cook special dishes and are incredibly expensive. The guy thinks that the girl was selling mushrooms very cheaply, and she could have been deceived by vile merchants. Linnell says that these mushrooms are very expensive, and the girl tells him that she will not sell them, because I've tried them before and therefore know how delicious they are. However, she knows that they can be sold at a high price. The huntress deftly climbed the tree and picked some fruit for Leon, and she also collected aromatic herbs, thereby surprising the guy. The young man saw a white rabbit and bent down to stroke it, but suddenly the rabbit almost tasted him. The girl says that despite their appearance, they are very cruel and are ready to attack everything. Rabbits are poisonous, so let him be careful. The huntress thought that she couldn't let him get sick again. R tells the guy to be careful what he touches in the forest, because it's dangerous. The girl suggests checking the traps and going home. Arriving at the trap, the hunter saw a large boar there, and she says that usually she skins and cuts the meat on the spot, but this time she does it at home. Arriving home, the hunter showed the place where she brings her prey. Leo, seeing the hook, asks that they should hang the boar on it. The girl says yes, but the boar is too heavy to lift by herself, so she usually doesn't do it, because now she has him, so they will do it together. The young man says that he has never seen how animals are butchered, but he has to go through it and show respect for the animal that died so they could eat. R tells the guy that he doesn't need to see this, but the young man says that he would like to learn and help so that she doesn't have to do it herself. The huntress did not let the guy go into the barn, explaining that this was her proprietary secret. After some time, the girl returned to the house with a bucket of offal and said that it was difficult to sell them because she kept them and used them to cook food. The huntress recalls that her grandfather used to cook very tasty dishes from offal. Looking at the bucket of offal, the girl says that the taste of the liver is incredible, and the lungs are food for the soul. The young lady is happy to say that the offal is incredibly tasty and can be fried. The guy looks at all this and thinks that he can cook it if he follows the recipe from the book. After some time, dinner was already ready. Hey, the girl eats with pleasure and says that she hasn't eaten anything like this for a long time. And the guy couldn't decide to try the giblets for a long time, but when he did, he realized that it was very tasty. The next day, the huntress arriving in the city thought that she had not been here for a long time, and it seemed to her that everyone was so lively. The girl soon sold the meat, and all she had to do was buy black pepper for Leon. When the young lady heard the price of black pepper, she was very surprised. The seller claims that this is its price and it is very expensive, because she has no idea what it is and is indignant about the price. The huntress is excited because she thought she took enough money, but it turns out she needs a lot more. She asks the seller if he's trying to deceive her. The girl thinks that it is against the law to inflate prices, but after the death of her grandfather, she was constantly deceived by local residents. Only after comparing prices with traders from other cities did they begin to pay her honestly. And after that, it's not so easy to deceive her because the girl will never forget it. The seller screams that it is illegal to inflate prices, and if you break it, he will be fined, and his hand will be cut off. The man is sure that it will be the huntress who will carry out the order to cut off his hand. The seller, looking at the girl, says that he is not deceiving her and swears that the black pepper is rare. And the girl sees that the man is sweating and looks scared, and his eyes tell the truth. Leaving the store without buying anything, the hunter thinks that she needs to catch a couple of foxes because people like their fur. As long as she catches a couple and sells the fur, there may be enough money. Suddenly, the huntress hears someone calling her, and when she turns around, she sees a man who works in the government. He tells the girl that he has work for her related to the upcoming festival. It was a harvest festival, and the Lord provided wine for the occasion. You could hear music in the square, and people were all having fun and dancing. The huntress had to butcher the animals that people brought for slaughter. The girl listened to people gossiping about her and discussing her behind her back. Drunk men screamed for her to entertain them because they were bored. R completed her work and received payment for some leftovers from the festival. When the girl was leaving, she heard the guy calling the girl by name and inviting her to dance. For a moment, the huntress imagined that she was dancing with a guy at this festival. Arriving home, the girl says that she has returned, and the guy asks her how she went for a walk. The lady replies that it's great and leaves the guy to sit down. The girl sat down next to the guy and hugged him. Lionel's doesn't understand what's going on and asks her about it. R asks the guy why he never calls her by name. The young man worriedly says that she looks upset and let the girl first say what happened today. The guy said the girl's name, and after that she hugged him very tightly. Lionel's asks if she is feeling better and let her tell her what happened today. The girl suddenly became embarrassed and opened the bag of black pepper, saying that she bought this seasoning for him. The hunter says that she sold several fox skins that she caught today. The young man says with admiration that he would like to see her catch a bear. Holding the pepper in his hand, the blonde guy thinks that they usually cover the entire piece of meat with it and fry it. After all, then you will get a smoked pepper steak. However, he will have to use all the pepper. The young man thought that he would lightly sprinkle the outside of the meat and let it marinate. While the meat is standing, the guy thinks that he can cook something sweet for the girl to cheer her up. Inhaling the sweet aroma, R asks the guy what he is doing. The young man replies that it's a snack. Lionel's offers the girl dessert and tells her to be sure to spoon it from top to bottom. The young man looks at the lady and thinks that every time her smile makes him happy. Sitting next to a tired girl, the guy asks if she is ready to talk about what happened today. R replies that today there was a festival and all the people were so cheerful and cheerful. The tables were full of meat and bread. The orchestra was playing music and people were dancing. The girl says she never went to festivals, but it looked like a lot of fun. When the young lady heard that the guy was not addressing her by name, she immediately reprimanded him to let him call her only R. The young man claims whether she wants to say that he needs to say her name every time he addresses her. The huntress says that every time he should address her by name. Suddenly the girl could not restrain herself and kissed him on the lips. Lionel screams excitedly and tells her not to do this so suddenly again. The girl says she just wanted to kiss him. The young couple sat for a while hugging each other. Suddenly the young man says that he should prepare a banquet for the girl. Since she saved his life, everyone present will know her name. Lionel says that he will cook all the dishes that she loves, and chocolate will flow like a river next to the table, and he will invite the best musicians of the continent, because the banquet will be much better than the town festival. The young man claims that in order to come to the banquet, she first needs to learn to dance. He takes the girl by the hand and makes her dance. While dancing with a young lady, the guy says that she catches on quickly and they have learned new dance moves for some time. The next day, sitting under a tree, Lionel asks the girl if she wants to read with him. R answers that she can't read. The young man reflects that he forgot that most of the residents cannot read and the girl probably never learned. The young lady hugged the guy and said that he shines like a flower shining in the sun or like a sea of falling stars. And when she was little, she always wondered where these stars would land. The girl looks at the guy in love and says that now she knows that these stars fell towards her. Hearing this, the guy says because she is so eloquent and thinks that she has a gift. However, she could have been an excellent writer. Lionel asks the girl if she would like to learn to read. R replies that she knows how to hunt and fight, and that is enough for her. The guy suggests starting with the alphabet and using an interesting book as an educational book. The young man gives the first task to read the entire story, because they will break it down step by step, and soon she will be able to read it. The guy asks the girl to concentrate, and she doesn't know what he's talking about, but for her it sounds like something heavy. The young lady doesn't listen to the guy at all because she likes to watch him talk animatedly. The girl asks the guy why all this and thinks that she would prefer to spend time together in some other way. Lionel takes a branch and writes a word on the ground. The girl looks and asks what he wrote. The guy erases the word and says if she studies, she will find out. The young man continued to say that conversations are limited by time and place, but if you write this down, even if they are not nearby, you can still communicate. R thinks that this sounds like a waste of time, but if he wants to teach her so much, then it's difficult for her to refuse. The guy thinks that this forest is the world of R because she can do whatever she wants here and she is free. Where Lionel's comes from is completely opposite. The guy thinks that it's not too selfish to want to take a girl living freely into such a world. The girl may not need this, but the guy wants to give her everything he can. When a huntress is in town, she usually heads straight home after business, but there is something she needs to do. Arriving home to the head of the town, it turned out that he was not there, and only his son was at home. But it didn't matter to the girl because she needed to know something. A girl asks a guy if he can read. Hearing this, the guy asks if she knows who she is dealing with and knows who is teaching him. The proud young man continues to say that when he grows up, he will become a nobleman and, of course, he can read. The guy claims that she should not compare him with uneducated commoners like her. The Huntress thought that the guy was being rude, but for some reason she wasn't offended at all. Because this young man looks down on all the inhabitants of the town. The guy asking what the young lady wanted to know. The girl took a branch and drew a word on the ground, which Lenals wrote. After reading this word, the guy screams that he will never fall in love with her, and let her not even dare to think about it. The surprised girl asks what he is talking about because she has no idea what it means. However, she came to him so that he could tell her what it meant. The guy told the girl to bend over, and he whispered in her ear. Heard what this word meant. The girl understood why he erased this inscription so quickly. Arriving home, the Huntress kissed the guy, and he thought that in recent days he had received more kisses than in his entire life. And I've even somehow gotten used to it. The girl touches the guy and kisses him, and he worriedly tries to tell her that this is dangerous. Lenals invites the girl to repeat the letters they learned yesterday. Because it is difficult, but slowly and surely she will remember them all. The young lady thinks that she was only interested in me for one thing, but that brat has already told me what that means, so she has no need to study anymore. The girl likes to be next to the guy, but she has to learn, and instead of words she sees only worms. Since the guy is trying, the girl thinks that she must concentrate. Sitting next to the guy, the girl fell asleep, and he decided to put her on the bed. After putting the girl to bed, the guy says that he is going for a walk and will be back soon. Hearing this, the girl grabs his sleeve and says that she is going with him. The young man says since she has already slept, they will move on to numbers, and she screams with pleasure that she was caught. Lenals shows the young lady how to add large numbers and how to do transformations. R thinks that she would be better off sleeping, and she says why does she even have to learn this crap? The guy claims that when she learns and sees for herself, it helps in many ways. He takes the gem and asks the girl if she knows how much the silver coins are worth. The young man explains how she can convert the price in silver coins into gold coins and vice versa. The girl asks the question that the crystal is so expensive because it is good. The guy replies that it is very expensive because many people want it. The girl invites the guy to go with her because she wants to show him something. Arriving at the cliff, the hunter says that the guy waited for her here, and she tied a rope around the stump and went down. The young man worriedly tells the girl to be careful because she might get hurt. Because he is very worried about her. The Huntress tells him to stand and not move, and at that time she jumps into a cliff. Lenals is very worried about the girl because she was a little late. When R stood up, she held a gem in her hands. Seeing this, the guy thought that this was why she was not surprised by his jewelry when they first met. The girl offers the guy a gem and talks about how beautiful he is. The surprised young man thinks that she is giving him the ruby as if it were a simple stone. The guy thanked her and suggested she continue to study economics. After all, she has no idea that she has earned herself an additional subject for her lessons. Coming from hunting, the young lady happily says that she caught a pheasant today, and it looks good, tastes good, and this is the best quality. The girl hugged the guy and kissed him, and all this time he was thinking about how he needed to restrain and control himself. The guy thinks that one day he will have to return to where he came from. The Huntress remembered that she had done something and would bring it now. Arriving with a bottle of wine, the girl says that she learned how to make it from her grandmother. The guy says that this is great because it goes well with pheasant meat. At dinner, the girl poured herself some strong wine and the guy some weaker wine. The guy suggests that they clink glasses and explains that when they collide glasses, the liquid mixes. Since it is wine or they eat it, they still drink it together. Hearing this, the girl asks the question that he is afraid that she might poison him again. The young man denies, explaining that this is a simple sign of mutual trust. Hearing about who said it later, the guy and girl quickly drank the glass of wine to the bottom. The guy suggests that she should not drink too much because she will feel bad and invites her to eat a little. R thinks the wine turned out great, but she would like it to be a little sweeter. The young lady takes some sugar and pours it into a glass of wine. Then I drank a little and she really liked it because it was sweet. The guy sees that the girl drank a lot, and he hopes that R is okay because she is already drunk. The Huntress poured a lot of sugar into a glass of wine and offers it to the guy. Lenals, not understanding anything, thinks that she offers him to try first. The girl suddenly grabs the guy and kisses him while saying that sweet is equal to sweet. The guy thinks that there is no point in looking for meaning in the words of a drunk person. In the morning, the girl woke up with a headache. She was very nauseous and thirsty. When the guy approached the girl and asked how she was feeling, suddenly the girl gets out of bed and kisses the guy. At this time, the young man pushes her away from him, explaining that her breath smells of alcohol. Leonels went outside and saw a goat. He came closer to her to stroke her, and as a friend he saw a white hair. Since the hair lay on his back, the guy thought that he trusted him. The young man added honey to the milk and gave it to the girl to drink. "Oh, instead of thanking me, I kissed the guy." The guy asks her head and suggests that she rest a little more and get a good night's sleep. The girl understands what a hangover is because she is always on guard at home and therefore has never drank much. Lying in bed, the young lady thinks that this was the first time she got drunk, and she realizes that a hangover is a bad thing. The girl remembers that she had a lot of fun yesterday. The blue-eyed guy quickly prepared breakfast to feed his girlfriend. The young man says that an omelet with tomatoes and cabbage salad are good food for a hangover, and he hopes that things will get better. The guy says that he was at several banquets where he had to drink nonstop, but his sister always behaved well, and he was not good friends with alcohol. Because of these circumstances, Lennels became an expert in curing hangovers. Seeing dietary food on the table, the girl screams that they have a lot of meat, and she says that it is not worth saving it. After lying in bed all day, the young lady thinks that this situation reminds her of the day after her grandfather passed away. The huntress recalls that several months passed after the death of her grandfather, and when she was lying in bed, she heard some sound. Going outside, the girl heard that wolves were howling deep in the forest, and she got goosebumps all over her body. But still, she decided that she needed to get checked. Near the house, the hunter climbed up a tree and saw several guys talking about her house. The guys said that the butcher's granddaughter paid for the luxurious funeral, which they saw without any problems. One of the guys demands that they shut up because they don't want the whole town to know that the guys broke into the hunter's house. Having opened the door, the bandit saw that there was no one there. "Hey!" The girl who had been watching them all the time took a small stone and threw it at one of them. One of the guys shouted that he heard some sounds and said that a monster lives in these forests because his mother talked about not going into this forest. The second young man screams to stop talking nonsense because these are made-up stories to scare children. When one of the bandits opened the door to the street, he saw shining eyes. All the guys thought it was a monster and quickly ran away. The huntress saw the alpha of the wolf pack. She is the leader of a pack of wolves that lives in the eastern part of the forest. And the girl had a feeling that this she-wolf understood people. Because Blanca is the smartest wolf the huntress has ever met. The girl first met her on the day she first went to check the trap alone. Hearing whining and coming closer, the huntress saw a wolf puppy. He was so small. And grandfather said that you should never harm wolf puppies. However, he was never wrong about everything related to the forest. The huntress, having freed the puppy from the trap, says that she is glad because he was not hurt. The girl released the wolf puppy. Late at night, when little R was looking at the stars, her grandfather told her that it was stupid to run after the stars because she wouldn't find anything, and only when so many stars were falling would she definitely find a couple. The girl decided to run after the falling stars because at that time she did not know how dangerous it was for the child in the forest. For the girl, the forest has always been a safe place because her grandfather was always with her. The girl noticed that there were no animals in the forest, and she saw a large bear behind her. The little girl discovered that she left her knife at home, and she couldn't fight it with her bare hands. The white wolf stood behind the girl and drove away the bear with her gaze. That night, when the little girl chased after the stars she couldn't find, but the huntress found something else, something special, and this special creature accompanied her all the way home. Grandfather thanked the wolf and gave her a large piece of meat, and he angrily told the girl to never go out alone again, and if it weren't for Blanca, she would be in serious danger. The huntress tells the guy that the wolf's name is Blanca, because it's good to know the name in case the she-wolf mistakes the guy for an intruder and attacks him. The guy reasons that her name sounds almost like Bianca, and he assumes that her fur is also white. The girl explains that her fur is gray, but her partner's is white, and she is crazy about him. As much as the she-wolf likes white, and that's why the nickname is Blanca. Her partner's name is Robo. The huntress asks the guy if he remembers the story about the wolf cub she saved. Robo has the same white fur as him, and she believes that this wolf pack has been living in this forest for a long time, and they are her friends. Arriving at the wolf cave and waiting a little, a huge she-wolf came out, and the guy thinks that she is much more than he expected, and it seems to him that she is good, because their first meeting went pretty well. Returning home, Lionel saw red berries and said that they were Koi's fruit. how much the guy can't believe that he found the fruit from which his favorite drink is made. He decides that he needs to pick some berries and make juice for the girl. The girl assumes that guys like bitter things and she will just help him pick the berries. Arriving home, the guy quickly prepared a drink and invited the girl to try it, and if she wishes, she can add a little sugar or milk to taste. After trying this drink, the young lady says that it is very tasty because it is such a bittersweet drink. The girl again kisses the guy instead of gratitude, but he pushes her away. R is upset and asks the guy if he likes him. The young man replies that he did not mean that, and that she is somehow strange today. However, he forgot that the juice causes such an effect in people who try it for the first time. The girl kisses the guy again, but suddenly she stares at him and says that he looks good. The guy noticed that she had a quick glance. The young lady suddenly screams that this is disgusting. After hearing what he heard, it took Leon some time to come to his senses. In the evening, the girl lay down in bed, and it was clear that her body was in pain. The young man is worried about the girl and asks if everything is okay with her. The girl replies that this happens every month and if he can, then let him bring her a new set of clothes. The guy asks the girl if she can change her clothes herself. Interested AP asks if he wants to help her. The guy suddenly turns red and refuses to help her. He says he'd rather wash his things. Sitting near the bed, the young man asks the girl if she wants something to eat. She replied that she wanted meat. Lionel prepared a dish of different vegetables for a more balanced diet, and when he treats the girl, he says that she should eat well if she wants to get better. R thinks that she ordered meat. After trying one spoon, the girl says that she quickly kisses the guy bitterly. The young man feeds the girl as if she were a small child. Lying in bed, the girl reflects on the fact that she was hurt, uncomfortable, and in a bad mood. But looking at the face of the fair-haired guy, all this disappears. A few days later, the Huntress fully recovered thanks to the drink that Leon made. After a short walk in the forest, the girl thinks that she needs to return home because Leon has been waiting for her. Arriving home, the Huntress picked up several cups and said that the guy quickly walked through the forest with her. Having placed the cups near the stump, the girl demands that the guy sit down. The young man thinks that he is still recovering from an injury, and he says that he knows that they are here alone in the open area. Sitting down on the ground, the girl began kissing the guy again. The young man thinks that the ground is a little hard, and he should have brought a blanket to lay on, or something similar. And he could have guessed this, but from now on, he will prepare better. This couple leaned against each other, and nothing else happened. Suddenly the guy blushes because he is ashamed, because he is such a bad person. The young man asks the girl what she wanted to show him. The girl remembered that she had brought him to show him the glowing mushrooms. The guy remembers that she talked about this before. Having waited until nightfall, the couple in love, while in a dark forest, saw the shimmer and shine of mushrooms. Looking at this color, it was as if they were attracted to each other by magic, and they kissed. After some time, the sparkle of the mushrooms disappeared. The girl explains to the guy that after he starts to shine, the mushroom melts. The juice from the mushroom is very sweet, and that's why she brought these mugs. The Huntress invites the guy to try this juice because it is very sweet and refreshing. In the moonlight, a young couple kisses each other with pleasure. Walking through the forest, the Marquis thinks that too much time has passed, and he does not know where His Highness could be, and he should not have listened to this Viscount. A few weeks ago, a man came to Duke Lavert and said that he needed to tell him something important in private. Duke Lavert is related to the Queen and her son Ladesh. He grew up as the adoptive brother of Prince Leonhart and looked after him. He is now Prince Leonhart's most loyal servant and member of his retinue. Lavert is always with the prince when he goes hunting. Before starting the conversation, the man thinks that he needs to prevent the Duke from accompanying the prince. Lavert tells the man that he needs to be with the prince as he will be leaving soon, and he will continue their conversation after dinner. The Viscount says that he was not worried because the prince will have up to 12 knights with him, and he has a retinue that knows the forest well. The man claims that he is confident that the prince will not have any trouble. The Duke thinks that he cannot simply ignore him since this man is his relative, albeit a distant one. Moreover, the prince came here to personally ask for his cooperation, and it would be unprofitable for the prince to simply refuse him. Viscount, turning to Marcus, say that since they have the same blood and he does not want to cause any harm. The Duke tells the servant to tell the prince that he can go without him. At that time, he had not the slightest idea about everything that could happen. Entering the room, the Marquis saw a girl who was sitting as if waiting for him. He asks who it is. The girl says that she is the daughter of the Marquis Benito because her father asked her to deliver the letter to the Viscount in person. The man says that he forgot about this to everyone and wants to write an answer right away, but she needs to wait a little. The Viscount says that he cannot leave her ladyship alone and asks the Marquis if he could keep her company. The Marquis understands that Viscount Cilium is a very cunning fox, and this is obvious because he's trying to set him up with a girl. Since he needs the support of an influential family, he tries to use it for this purpose. Since the young man is there, it would be impolite for him to leave the lady alone. However, he still has a mission to complete, and he can't ruin everything by leaving now. Leaving the room, he saw the soldiers who were supposed to protect the prince and asked them why they were all here. The Marquis reassures the Duke so that he does not worry since his bodyguards are quite capable of protecting the prince. The Duke thought something was wrong because he keeps him away from the prince, and he did not tell his retinue that the prince was going hunting. The Marquis is trying to make the prince vulnerable so that he can do something to him. He may have sided with Prince Peculum. The Duke states that he will wait for the prince outside. He thinks that everything will be fine and Prince Leon has the thing that he received from the Queen. Lavert thinks that no matter what plan the Viscount has, he will not be able to harm him. But when darkness fell, no one returned. The Duke cries out that 4 days have already passed and not a single person has returned willingly. The Viscount, explaining, says that his people searched the entire forest, and he just wanted to make a little scandal involving the prince, but it got out of control. Lavert claims that his knights are doing nothing, and so he will go look for the prince himself. The Duke is confident that the prince is safe, because the magical powers given by the Queen are strong enough to break the castle gates with one blow. The aristocrat screams for the horse to ride quickly and thinks about the prince that he is either lost or hiding somewhere, but there is one thing he is worried about. Lavert remembers how he and the prince played in the maze as a child. The guy was worried that he had not yet come out because it was already getting dark, and the prince was still wandering inside, because he was terrible at directions. The Duke was especially worried because he assumed that he could easily find the prince. However, the knights searched throughout the forest, and even beyond it into hostile lands, but could not find the prince. It was then that Herzog realized the seriousness of this issue, because he thought that he would find it at Northwood Pass, but all his efforts were in vain, and he is sure that looking elsewhere will be the same, because this area is close to lands that fall under the jurisdiction of Prince Leon, and this is to me the reach of Prince Peculian. Lavert thinks that if the prince were here, he would have already returned, but this is on the way back to the Viscounty, and he should take another quick look. The guy thinks about making additional search plans when they return. Suddenly, the Duke heard strange sounds, and one of the knights said that these were wolves. The guy with blonde hair tells everyone to arm themselves and slowly move back. But suddenly the Duke saw a human body in the darkness and asked who it was. The Huntress came closer to the knights and ordered the wolves to leave. Lavert looked at the girl and had the feeling that he was looking at a wild animal and he needed to be on alert. The guy thinks that the wolf has turned into a man. The Duke invites the stranger to tell her name, and at the same time he thinks that the girl didn't even flinch when she saw him. However, this has never happened, and is it possible? The guy asks the Huntress if she is a werewolf. At this time, there were stories about mystical creatures living in the forest. Evil creatures such as witch demons and werewolves. They don't show up during the day, but enough evidence and traces remain to make the stories compelling. Lavert doesn't believe all the stories, but some of them may be true. The girl laughed and told him to shut up and follow her. The Duke thinks about it, so the wolves disappeared. The knights ask their boss what they should do next, since they are all tired of searching day and night. The Duke says they will follow her, but he sees no danger. Since this could be a setup, they can handle it. The Huntress explains to the knights that she will show them the way to the village. The Duke thinks that this is nice of her since his people are too tired and their searches have not led them anywhere, but still he decided to ask the girl.